Woo! Hi. Yes, don't mind me looking at my phone. I always carry it because I have things to read out and share with you. A little bit of quietness today for me, but I won't fail to do this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. Wherever you are on the surface of the earth at this particular instant, seeing and hearing me. So how are you? I know you're fine. I know you're beautiful. I know you are amazing. Yeah, we've had a lot of challenges. Well, that's what life is all about. We surmount them by His grace. I'm good. I'm fine. It's been an amazing season for me within the podcasting space. You'll get to know very soon. Maybe before even this episode, you get to see it, you get to hear it. So what are we going to be doing today? Today's conversation is a little bit heavy for me. I've processed it, and before coming on set, I was just praying under my breath, asking for the right words, the clear terms to communicate this. Pain, dealing with pain. There's a lot of pain. Yep. But before I go into that, I'm going to read, that's why I'm holding my phone. I'm going to read this and a scripture. The first is a known scripture, but each time I come upon it, thinking about pain, it teaches me a lot. And that's one of the last words of Jesus on the cross. Yes. He said about 3 p.m, I think that's the night hour, Jesus cried in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Some translations put it Eloi, Eloi. He says, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's not a new scripture. Yeah, we are in the season, building up to Easter and all of that. And I asked myself this question. Why did he use those words? These words were first used, or rather talked about, by the psalmist somewhere in, I think it's Psalm 121, when he was talking about the coming of the Messiah and all of that, and he prophesied a whole psalm. Long, very long, but that's a discussion for another day. But these words, why have you forsaken me? I was trying to imagine the pain. This was Jesus, divinity in flesh. And would you say he was scared? For the first time, he was alone, trying to imagine the pain. Those words, they were excruciating. How do you deal with pain? One could say Jesus was traumatized. He was in pain and he cried out. So this morning, before coming to the studio, before leaving the house, I was having this conversation with my wife. Yes, and I told her, I have a recording to do today, but I just feel this weight. Like, it's very heavy for me, but I need the grace of God to share, to talk about it. So, in course of sharing with her, this empty perfume bottle caught my attention, and it will be part of illustration. Pain. Now look at this container. Let us look at this, see this This is a container. So imagine you throw a ball that fits into this container and it drops in, and that ball is pain. Like I told her, either of two things will happen. The more we fester, dwell on the pain, it grows. The container does not grow. But because the container is dwelling on the pain grows. And as long as that is happening, you know what will happen? It will get to a capacity, a limit. And what happens? The pain overcomes, overtakes, overpowers the container, and boom. So you hear things like, misery loves company. And I say the energy that comes from that company is undesirable because it destroys you. But now look at it from the other way. If the container, pain doesn't go away, like, boom, disappears. So what happens? If the container begins to train itself, begins to mature, the container begins to grow, and the pain begins to disappear to the background, not the foreground. The container is growing, the pain is reducing. The container is growing, the pain is reducing. So that is how I have come to view pain. And I'm going to share some intimate stories with you. I grew up in pain. Pain, yes, I did. My earliest memory of pain could go as far back as when I was 1. And somebody said, how do you say that you remember? Yes, because that is what pain does to you. It gives you this mark or scar. So growing up, I had this accident. A child playing in the neighborhood. I'm going to tell you a series of stories, true stories of pain. I had this injury. How did it come about? I was playing and I put my legs into this, hollow blocks. For those of you who live in some part, even it's everywhere. These fanciful blocks they use in beautifying houses, hollow blocks. As a child, I put my leg in one of them, and because of playing, yes, and I forced my leg out of it and had an injury which I kept to myself. I didn't tell my parents. The injury festered and became cancerous. And when they took me to the doctor, I was made to understand as a child, yes, I still remember it, in pain, my bones began to fall apart. I could see them. A big sore, for the sake of camera, I won't expose that. Those of you who have seen me physically when I work, I start. If you don't know, you think I'm moving like swagging or something. No, it's because my legs are uneven. One is longer than the other. And when I stand, I lean. For 1 full year, I was immobilized. And the doctor said my legs, one of it, my right leg to be precise, would be amputated. And my mom, prayerful woman, she said, no way. So we kept praying. She kept praying. For a child, I could still remember. I see children playing, I can play. I can go out and play with them. I lost time. All I could hear when I'm in the room, I could hear the children playing outside, my mates, but I couldn't go out. So pain gives you this psychological, emotional, physical scar. But I came through by my mom, through God, she kept praying. Another one that happened to me was I have lost people in my life that I witnessed them translate before my eyes. Yes, watch them. Loved ones. The first of it was my younger brother, my immediate younger brother, Oliver. That was his name. And that day, what happened? One of us was going to dispose refuse in the neighborhood. You know, we grew up in this neighborhood where refuse disposal is not what it is today. You have this like something like maybe a borrow pit or a garbage truck, immobile garbage truck somewhere around the street where you go to dispose. And he was going to dispose refuse. And Oliver, without his knowledge and the knowledge of any adult, followed him. And he was hit by a bike, a motorbike. And it was really bad. For the first time in my life, I could see blood as a child. He was rushed to the hospital nearby. I still remember that hospital. Don't ask me how. That's what pain does. My mom crying, and the doctors were like, so we all came around him, the family, and I could still remember those eyes looking at everybody one after the other, and life leaving his body. I didn't understand it so much then, but I could see somebody leaving. My mom was crying. My dad, as a man trying to compose himself, but you could see it. He left us. It was painful. Then another one was in primary school. I think I was in primary 4. I think so. 3 or 4. We were going home. Then the school I attended, St. John's Primary School, Rumeme in Port Harcourt. We used to walk to school and back. Even when they provided a bus for us, but you know, children and adventure. For those of you that know Port Harcourt so well, the Ikwere Road, that one of the longest roads in Port Harcourt, Ikwere Road. It used to be narrow. Now it's like a dual carriageway, pretty narrow. We used to work. And that particular day, it was in December, I think around December, because it was Hamatan. Myself, my younger brother, my kid, friend, childhood friend, all of us, I think we were about 10 or more of us were walking home. Somewhere around after the OCC Park, there's a place called OCC Park on the Ikwere Road, the Rumeme access. A little bit after it, we have this stores of furniture makers. I can still see them. And at that point, my younger brother was on the other side of the road. We were all on the other side of the road, or on one side of the road. Then I had to cross. And he was there. And when I crossed, I was beckoning on him to come. Children that we are, he was pretty younger than me. And in trying to come across, a 911 Mercedes-Benz truck picked him up, threw him across the road. In trying to swerve, the truck hit my childhood friend. Instantly, he passed out. He died. I was looking at him. The place became chaotic. It was a chaotic scene. On one hand, I was looking at my younger brother bleeding, his head broken in like 4 or 5 places. Because imagine a 911 truck, and I had to carry 2 of them to the nearby clinic. My hands, because we used to watch movies those days, they tell you when you have a broken whatever, don't let air get into it. So I used my hands as a child thinking it will stop the bleeding. I covered his head. For the other person, it was gone. And my hands were stained in blood. And I ran. Excuse me. I ran for hours. I ran to my father. And when he saw me, what happened? I could barely speak. I can still remember his face. My brother didn't die, but my friend did. He's alive today. His name is Nimi Amakri. He taught me so much about pain. Sorry, guys. And each time I go back there in time, I come to appreciate life more. The next one was the death of my father. That happened when I was in my final year in school, writing my final year exams. That weekend, we had a program in school, but I couldn't place it. I was uneasy. So I had to go home. And when I got home, I was told he took ill and they rushed him to the clinic. So I dropped my stuff and I just went to the clinic immediately. My elder brother was already there. When I got there, it's like you seeing life leave another body. My mom was behind me. When she got there, we had to keep her outside. The ward, as in the room, I beg your pardon. My elder brother he couldn't contain himself. So I had to come out of the room, lock the door behind me, or close the door behind me, and told my mom, he's fine, he's good. They just asked that we get some food for him and all that. So I took her home and told her I need to go back to the clinic. I actually lied to her. He was dead all this while. I had to go and inform, yes, according to tradition and all that, the family members, elders. So I took a vehicle with the thought of him dead with me. I went round, informed everybody, and it was at about 5 or 6 in the evening when I got home. My mom looked at me and said, "So your dad was dead all this while and you didn't tell me?" She was so cross with me. And I looked at her. I don't know, maybe because I've experienced this a lot, so I could handle her. I just held her and she was in pain. I could feel it. I didn't cry. Because I've come to understand tears are the lubricant of the soul. When you cry, your soul is lubricated. You see better, you hear better. Just like Jesus said, why have you forsaken me? It was 12 a.m. that night. I sat down and I wept. I couldn't contain it anymore. The one that each time I think about it hits me was the day my mother passed. She died in my arms. So that day, I think it was in March. My birthday is 17th. My mom died on the 15th. My elder brother's birthday is on the 16th of March. So that morning, my house, as in when I left my dad's place and started living on my own, I did it in such a way that because I have this sweet things I have with my mom, I don't like staying far from her, and she would not let me go too far. So I stayed like 2 miles away. It's a walkable distance. But that day, I drove through the house on my way to the office because my workplace was just in the neighborhood also. Don't ask me how all this, that's how it's been with me. So she called and said, bring my son. That's her. She doesn't call him grandson. She calls him my son and my daughter. So I called home and I told my wife, your mom said you should come with her son and all of that. She saw them. She was playing from what I was told, laughing, running around the house with him. And in the evening at about 9:10, I heard a call. My elder brother was on the phone. He was shouting. And I got into the car, drove to the house. And I walked up to her. I held her. They were calling her name. So I held her. She meant a lot to me. My mom taught me how to pray. She taught me how to connect with divinity. She taught me how to fight. But she was gone. I called her name. She was gone. I saw her in the morning of that day. That evening she was gone. So why am I sharing all this with you? People are going through stuff. People are going through pain. But listen, you're not meant to be overpowered by pain. You are not meant to be overpowered by pain. You are to lean on God's grace, grow, and overpower, or rather, grow. Learn from it. Do I understand it all? I don't. But it has helped my sanity. It has helped my writing process, thinking process, relating with people. So when I hear things like you don't understand, I smile. Because I do. It only shows how frail we are and helpless. If Jesus could cry, why have you forsaken me? Like, I need you now. But his death brought about our salvation. Maybe that pain is to open you up to greater things. Maybe that pain is to remind you of your helplessness and how you should anchor yourself on God. I didn't mean to bore you today, but like I told you before we started, it's heavy on me. And I just said I need to share this with you. People are going through stuff. People are. But I just want to let you know you are not alone. If Jesus was forsaken for a moment, it was because you and I, to save us, to give us a future. His word says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. He has gifted us with the gift of his presence. So whenever we go through stuff, we should remember we are not alone. He knows that we can't handle it all by ourselves. That's what I came to do on the show today. Wherever you are listening to me, remember this. You are not alone. No matter what you've gone through, listen, you are not alone. All right, guys, I hope this helps. Before I go, I'll leave you with this. The pain doesn't go away, but you can grow like the container. As you grow, the pain disappears to the background. It becomes insignificant. Its memory only helps you to know how far you've come and how far you've grown by his grace. And how when your life is opened like a fragrance, that sweetness fills the atmosphere. I have to go now. But you know how we say it on the show. Go ahead, follow us. We're there. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. We share wholesome content here. Till I come your way again. My name is Amakri. Amakri Sowe. Bye for now.